there, thanks for watching today's Drawing for Adults video brought to you by the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center. Today we're going to be exploring our third part of the texture series, which is exploring something called atmospheric perspective, which is something that's more connected to a landscape when drawing a landscape versus something like 1-point or 2-point perspective. So I'm going to be walking you through this process of what atmospheric perspective is and then how to make sure that you're applying it. It's really important to have it in a work of art. So atmospheric perspective basically says that objects in the background are less detailed, the colors are duller, and they are also cooler. So you're going to have kind of something that's a little bit more blurry looking as well as a bluer, cooler tint, plus not having the same level of contrast. So in this image here, you can even see just with these ripples, in the foreground, they're pretty large, they're more defined, whereas in the background, closer to those little trees at the horizon, you can't even see them. So that's just a really simple example. It's also more faded, it's a lot lighter. So there's a lot of ways in which we can identify this. You can also see that those green trees in the background right above the horizon line there, that those green trees are slightly cooler. They're a little bit more of a bluer green versus this green grass in the foreground. So this is just a really random little image I found here that can help to see that. So I'm gonna work on just going ahead and building this out in a base layer. So if you are using acrylic paint, then I would definitely recommend working in layers here where you just, gradually kind of build up your colors so that you have more than one layer of paint. Now, perspective in general for a landscape, that also, in addition to the whole atmospheric perspective idea, that of course is just going with how the atmosphere, how the colors of the sky and everything kind of will affect it. But also size and scale matters. So it seems obvious to say that the trees that are in the background that are far away, that they are going to be smaller, right? It's not that the trees are actually shrinking. It's just that they appear to be smaller, right? There are little trees in the background, whereas a tree that's in the foreground that's right in front of you, it's going to appear to be a lot larger. And so the same thing goes for the ripples in the water, for example. So in the foreground here, those ripples are going to be larger, they're going to be wider, you're going to see more contrast. Now that's more of an atmospheric thing, but still, the blades of grass that are far away are also going to appear to be smaller as it gets further and further away. So I do apologize for all of the back and forth with looking at the image, so you'll really get to see a lot of that. I know it's a little bit obnoxious there, so like I said, I do apologize for all of that. Hopefully I'm not making you too dizzy with this video, but you can see how I've intentionally added more contrast and warmer colors here in the foreground versus those trees in the background. And so you'll see I'll continue to kind of lighten up the sky a little bit as it gets closer to those trees very far in the background. And I add more and more contrast as well. You can see more detail, so those trees in the background are pretty blurry and the detail in the foreground is more rough. Now if you're doing with this something like soft pastels, I've tried to kind of make a hybrid of something that looks like painting or paint and also soft pastels depending on what you're using. So you can see regardless there's a lot more color, detail, contrast in that foreground space compared to the background. So that's really going to be key when trying to create a sense of perspective in a landscape. So in addition to making those trees smaller in the background, you're also going to go cooler, duller, and a little bit blurrier as well. I hope you enjoyed today's video.